Honorable Matibe from the side of the NCOP. We have only one item, because I know that the first item was about the adoption of the program. Members from the NA side would have been forwarded with the program and agreed to the program, and that's why we're meeting. We have one presentation, which will be from the department of GCIS on the COVID-19, and I'm sure members would have received the notice well in advance. That includes the presentation. So as I welcome you to this first meeting virtually of the committee, even though it's in a joint form, please take note that given that the time allocation does not permit for long meetings, I would ask that members bear with us, that with regard to the presentation that we would receive, it will just be the highlights. We take it that members have had an opportunity to go through the presentation. This will then allow members an opportunity to actually engage the presentation than spending more time on the presentation. I hope the department minister, you would have already allocated who would speak and so on. But as I said, we'll co-chair with Chairman Matibe. And I'm sure we'd have agreed in our own discussions that even when we get to the time when members have to engage, given the time available, we would limit a member to 2 questions maximum, so that there's also an opportunity for responses from the department. I'm sure that members do agree that's the way we would proceed, so that we can make use of the time that has been allocated to us. If that's agreed, without really a waste of time, I'll just ask that before we introduce the minister formally, to give just a brief overview to introduce the department, just to get confirmation also from the side of the NCOP, Honorable Matibe, as to whether all your members are in the meeting, or if there are any apologies, that those get recorded. And I will do the same from the side of the NA if there are apologies. Honorable Chairman Matibe, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, over to you, if you can just confirm on your side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to you, Chairperson, and members of the NA, as well as members of the Select Committee and the Minister, as well as the department. From the side of the Select Committee, we received an apology of Honorable Labuschagne. I'm sure that that's the only apology that we have received so far. But currently, we have got members that are present in the meeting. It's Honorable Bibi, Honorable Ngwenya, Honorable Arnolds, Honorable Mudise, as well as Honorable Smith. We'll be recording as other members are joining in. Others have been struggling to join in, and I'm sure the IT side is working on that. It will confirm as and when other members are getting in.
Chairperson, I'm here. Mlindi Nana, connected.
Yeah, Mlindi Nana has also joined us.
Chairperson, as well.
Yeah, we'll record.
Chairperson Mukause is here.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I'm sure we are almost 9 members from the NCOP that are present. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Matibe. I do know that there is a recorded apology of Ms. Alice Mtembu from the NA side. That's what has been forwarded to me. I think all other apologies that may be forwarded to the Secretary will just keep the meeting updated, just to make sure that we maximize the time we have. And if that's so agreed, it would appear that we do correct to proceed with the meeting. But I will also, as the minister would do the overview, he will also indicate if there are apologies that may need to be recorded from their side. Honorable Minister Tembu, usually we give a few minutes for you as the minister to give the overview and then indicate who will do the presentation. Given time limitations we have, would really appeal that the presentation should take us to 20 minutes so that most of the time will be allocated to members to engage the presentation. And as I said, on the basis that members had had an opportunity to go through the presentation itself. So you'll talk to the presentation. Over to you, Honorable Minister, as we welcome you once again to the joint meeting.
Thank you, co-chairs, and also honorable members. We appreciate to be part of this very extraordinary meeting. I hope you can hear me, Chair.
We hear you very well, Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are presenting what, as you had requested, Chair, what we have done as part of the fight against the coronavirus pandemic that has also infested in our country. You will know, Chair, that first of all, I want to start by saying we have had a void in the leadership of the administrative arm of the department. I want to assure the committee that we have now since concluded on the interviews for a Director General for GCIS. That matter is now before Cabinet. It will be concluded in due course. That's the first issue. The second one, Chair, yes, we are part of the war against COVID-19. As you will know, ours started even earlier, long before we had the first person infected in our country. We were working with DERCO and the Department of Health in relation to the repatriation of those of our patriots who were holed up in Wuhan, in Hubei, in China. That's where this whole matter started. So we were then part of the communication for the repatriation of our colleagues. Of course, after we also had our own infections and after the president also made pronouncements declaring a state of national disaster in our country as a consequence of coronavirus, we have led in the area of communication, making the nation aware what's happening, the various levels of lockdowns and the reasons behind the various levels. I just wanted to say that as I introduce Phumla Williams, who's the Acting Director General in GCIS, to then take us through the actual activities that we engaged in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Acting DG. Acting DG, are you ready to present? Acting, are you ready to present? We can't hear you.
Chair, I'll just check on them.
Yeah, please do quickly.
We are waiting for you, sis. You are the only one who are to present now. There is no other one. Therefore, we can't start with any other. So just sort out the tech. I hope you can hear me, colleagues. I'm speaking to Phumla, who say that they are having some difficulty with the technical problems. So, but they are sorting that out. If you can just bear with us.
We'll sort it out now.
Technology. Hey. Hey.
I think, co-chair, while they're still sorting out, we can be dealing with housekeeping issues. For example, I need to confirm the presence of members from the select committee, and you can also confirm those who are present. Can I start, co-chair?
You can do that, but just remember, before we could proceed, we just ensured that the members are present and are allowing us to proceed. But I'm just saying we can just make sure that we're updated now.
If there are other members who have joined,
Yes,
in,
yes.
so that when we come to persons, we don't skip members who are present in the meeting.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, but Chair, can I just make a suggestion?
Yes, Honorable Van Dam.
It's now almost 30 minutes. We have 2 hours. We haven't started. I think on the side of the app, you can see who all is in the meeting. Can we just not waste time? I'm assuming everyone's read the presentation. If anyone has questions so long while we wait for Ms. Williams, can we ask the Minister questions? Can we use the time constructively? Because half an hour has gone now, just with logistics and administration. So can we please ask the Minister questions? I'm sure many of us have been waiting for this opportunity, and can we not waste it?
Honorable Matibe, you were still on the platform. I just wanted to hear what Honorable Van Dam was to say, but I think she's making a suggestion. So that Honorable Van Dam, I didn't want to use what I said I would use in future. That we just note that you read the presentation and we get straight to questions. But Honorable Matibe, just complete your point after having heard what Honorable Van Dam would have raised. I'll come back to the matter.
Yeah, no. I think I wanted to confirm. Now I can confirm members who are present in the NCOP. I think we can go straight to questions because we received the document on time while they're still dealing with. If there are any other issues, they can deal with that when answering questions.
Hi, Wasafa GCIS.
Honorable Minister Mtembu, yes. Honorable Minister?
Hi.
I can hear you very well. I would have thought that the GCIS would have been ready by now.
They're
So-
saying I muted everyone. Just double check for me. Did I mute people?
Well, I've not unmuted.
Ajira, mute your mic.
Mute them.
Disrupting a discussion. Honorable Minister.
Can you see? Can you check? Can you check? Can you check?
Ajira, please mute your mic. You are disrupting a meeting. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, can you hear?
I can hear you.
All right. Now, one is just checking. There's a suggestion on the table which we think can take us forward on the basis that members would have gone through the presentation, given these technical glitches, whether we can't proceed with members asking the questions, but of course on the basis of what we would have said, limitation to 2 per member. And that we will be able to get responses. If there will be an opportunity to come back, we would come back. Probably by that time, there would have been connection, and if there are matters to highlight, they will then be highlighted as part of the responses. Is the Minister clear on that?
We are in your capable hands, Chair. We have not.
Okay, so if you can.
We just hope that as we do so, we are all together in fighting this pandemic, because that's what you have called us to speak on. So I hope also the questions will be related to the matters that you have called us to deal with. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, yes, Honourable Minister, it's on the basis of a presentation that has been submitted by GSIS for purposes of today. And in that regard, I would allow members to ask questions. But as I said, with regard to the NCOP, just to make sure that there's maximum participation by both committee members from NCOP and NA. Honorable Matibe would take members from the NCOP side. Will point at the hands of which members would indicate, I think, that they would want to speak. We'll do the same on the side of the NA. So we're now open to members. Honorable Matibe, because you were just confirming now that all your members are in the meeting, maybe there can be indication now of those who would want to speak on the matter. I hope members do hear.
Yes, sir. Mokause from the NCOP.
Yes, I got. I will take two members from this side, Honourable Chair. I've got Honourable Mukause.
From NCOP.
Okay.
I've got Honourable Mukause, I've got Honourable Bibi. I would have taken the two. And you can go straight to questions, Honourable members, and then we'll go to NA.
I note, Honourable Van Dam, that your hand is up on the NA side, but let's just allow these other members to ask questions.
Yes,
thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson, sorry, just can I just quickly raise a point of order, maybe, or just to make the whole process streamlined. And I'm actually breaking my own rule now. If one has a point of order, can we ask that the point of order be raised after the question was finished, not during the conversation or the question, because it breaks one's thoughts and strain of thought. So can I ask, if one has a point of order, raise a point of order after the question?
Yeah, Honourable Klute, we can allow Honourable Mukause to ask questions so that we don't entertain. We can waste time while we're still dealing with the point of orders. Honourable Mukause from NCOP and Honourable Bibi from NCOP, in that order.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, in light of COVID-19 pandemic, what changes will you make to your operational plans to ensure that people right across this country are well informed? Because currently, if we do not have a television set, you actually cannot get the information from government. Should you not maybe perhaps increase the volume of your print communication from your department in the language which maybe that suits all communities across the country? My third point, Chairperson, which is the last one for now. One of your strategic objectives, Minister, is to transform mainstream media through allocation of advertising revenue. How have you done this so far? And what are the struggles between transforming the media and ensuring that it remains independent? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honourable Bibi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues, and also our Minister present with us. My question, Chairperson, would be, what measures have the GSIS put in place during the COVID-19 national lockdown to reach its audience in predominantly rural areas where there is no Wi-Fi connected since you cannot distribute newspaper at the moment? And question number 2, Chair, will be, how is the GCIS working together with the COVID-19 National Command Council to ensure that South Africans received a single unified message at all times? Thank you so much, Chairperson. That's my question.
Thank you. My co-chair, we are done with the 2 questions from our side. Yeah, you can continue.
I noted from the NA that Honorable Van Dam's hand was up. Can I just take the other hands from other members in this round?
Can I go ahead and
Can I
speak
just
to
take
the-
hands from other members? I do have Honorable Van Dam who raised their hand before. Any other member from NA that wants to speak at this point?
Hi, Chairperson. I'm trying to check whether you can hear me.
There's Puma
Yes,
Williams.
yes,
Thank you very much. Chair, I missed quite a
Can-
bit. I don't know whether you
can
can
you-
assist me.
Can you hold it there? Can you hold
Thanks.
it there, please? Acting DG, can you just
Yes,
hold a
Chair.
bit? We're
Thank you.
already on taking questions. Let's just deal with this round of questions. Would have indicated, whilst you were unable to connect, that if there are matters to highlight, those will come in as part of answering the questions, because we've already started with questions on the basis that members in any way would have received your presentation. And we already have 2 members that would have asked questions already. I'm sure those would have been noted. I think that will help us to proceed smoothly. I'm
Thank
now
you, Chair.
on questions. Okay, I'm now on questions from the NA side. I had Honorable Van Dam as hand up. May I just check if there are other members who want to ask questions at this point? From the NA?
Chair, Honorable Kubega.
Honorable Kubeka. Any other one? If not, we'll take those 2 questions for now. Honorable Van Dam.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to everyone. Minister, I just want to upfront say that thank you very much for taking up the task of also taking care of this department. I know that it is a very critical time in our country, and as ministers, you need to be leading the charge to fight against this pandemic. And communication is a very important aspect of it, because we need to be able to communicate with people about safety measures and about all manner of things related to the pandemic. I think in terms of just purely from communication, from what I've seen, the communication, at least through media platforms, has been good. The SABC has also, as the public broadcaster, has done a really great job. They have a channel now dedicated to education. So I think on that aspect, it at least appears at face value that things are being done well. Now, in terms of communications from Cabinet, so there has been heavy message inconsistency, which has caused a lot of confusion. In a crisis, communication needs to be very clear. It needs to, there shouldn't be contradictions, and there has been so much. Now, I know you can't solely be responsible for making sure that ministers stay on message, but I would like you to please take it up as a very serious issue, because the president will say one thing. Now, I'm not talking about the tobacco ban, I'm talking in general. The president will say one thing, and then there's briefings by ministers, and they say different things. The regulations will say one thing, then there's ministers who wrongly interpret the regulations. As example, the ban on hot cooked food that was not in the regulations, and then ministers make their own rules that are not linked to the regulations. So my question is, has there been communications with ministers to say, please stay on message, do not make your own announcements? Ministers can't suddenly just make rules without them being in regulations to say, I don't know, we shall henceforth ban, braais at home or whatever. So ministers just make up their own things. It's not in the regulations. They cause serious confusion. So has a conversation happened? And going forward, please make sure that there's message consistency. Perhaps this is something the president needs to take charge of. And I think as a minister in the presidency, you need to convey this message that the president needs to make sure that ministers stay on message. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Van Dam. Honorable Kubega.
Thank you, Chair, and also morning, everybody. Let me join also the Portfolio Committee to welcome the acting minister in this department. And I would like also to thank the manner in which they are trying to work harder, because we can see that they are indeed on the ground. My question is just on the issue of fake news, Honorable Minister. I want to know, how are you dealing with the issue in order to attend that matter, because you can see that fake news run faster and make a damage on the ground. Whilst you try to come back, you see that already the fake news have already made a damage. How are you dealing with the fake news in your department, Honorable Minister? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kubeka. I think those are the questions in the first round of questions, and I'm sure the department would be able to respond. You'd remember, Honorable Minister, I had indicated that whatever was to be highlighted during the presentations, this will also be an opportunity as you answer to questions to highlight matters that may have not been highlighted before. Will be guided by yourself, Minister, on how you will be responding to the first line of questions. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Makausa has asked what are the transformative actions we have taken in the media space. I think all of us are aware that there is a big drive to ensure that our community radio sector is alive and is supported. As we speak now, even when we hold our press conferences at GCIS, at the same time that we speak, there are 65 radio stations that are connected to the same message that we are, I hope you can hear me, that we are delivering to the nation, either as ministers or even when the Minister of Health, who's obviously the lead minister on dealing with this health matter, speaks, we make sure that indeed the messages are also packaged even by GCIS to reach our community media, including our community print media. So that's basically what we're doing in terms of transformation at this stage. But also we are, I don't know why this thing seems to be dying, but if you can hear me, I'll continue. The MDDA, the MDDA that is tasked with ensuring that we transform our media space is, as we speak now, has given a lot of financial injection to our community media section and also our community print media and the few community television stations that are there. So we are quite happy. Of course, we can do more if we can get more funding in this area. But with what we have, we are doing our best. There's been a question that has been asked by many colleagues. How do we reach out to communities in rural areas around COVID? Colleagues will know that we have, apart from relying on your television stations, apart from relying on your SABC radio station and your community media stations. By the way, the SABC radio stations has quite a wonderful footprint that even reaches our rural communities. So we have made use of this footprint of the SABC. Of course, link that to our community media to reach out to our rural communities. We have also, as colleagues will be aware, working together with the Department of Health, we have also crafted pamphlets that we have made available to various parts of our country in languages that are spoken in the various parts of our country, so that the COVID message can reach our people. There was a question about by Honorable Bibi about Command Council, a single unified message. Yes, maybe let's first explain. We now have almost all ministers being part of a command council led by the president. So the chair of the Coronavirus Command Council is the president. And whatever decisions that are taken in the command council, those are the decisions that then either are announced by the president or are announced by the various ministers. We have seen the president from time to time announcing even the state of disaster. Of course, some of the announcements before they are made, they need to be agreed to by cabinet, because the National Command Council might not be a structure that our people in the country elected. The elected structure is cabinet. So if whatever decisions that comes from the Command Council are of such a nature, not of an operational nature, are of such a nature that needs to be agreed to by cabinet, such matters are elevated to a cabinet that also meets virtually to agree on what has been agreed to by the National Command Council as part of our fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Honorable Member Van Damme asked a question. There are some of us who don't seem to be staying on message. Our sisters, colleagues, under those circumstances, please touch base with us. We have not been aware of such instances. But where you come across any of us who might not be on message, please touch base with us so that we are then able to deal with whatever misinterpretations of messaging that comes from government. Ms. Honorable Kubega has asked a question whether are we able to deal with fake news. On this one, I would like to, the DDG Kusela Diko, who's there, who's responsible for our broader communication, working together with the DG, to come in on what is the response to anything that is fake and how do we deal with fake news. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, I'm back.
No, I was not right now.
Can we just get the DDG to respond to the point on the fake news first? We'll come back to you, Acting DG. Can we just do as the minister?
Thank you. Honorable Chair, my apology. Can I just request that everybody who speaks that they put their video on when they speak, because when we on TV, it seems that there's nobody on the screen.
My apologies, Chair. I see that I just took myself off camera. My apologies. It won't happen again.
Apology accepted. Minister, can we now get to the acting DDG to respond to the fake news part?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, honorable members. The GCIS, working together with the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, has set up a command center that is responsible for the monitoring of fake news. It brings together a number of private sector companies that are working with us, including the technology platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp in particular. Now, what we do is that we have a proactive monitoring of fake news. As and when we receive them, they are verified with Real 411, as well as Media Monitoring Africa, which are our partners. We have implemented a manual process of stamping these as fake news and obviously seeking to get the responsible departments or other organizations to clarify as and when those issues come up. It's not yet a perfect process, Chair, and to a large extent, a lot of it is manual, but we are working on strengthening our capabilities to respond to fake news in the future. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, maybe just to add, on rural communities, by the way, as the GCIS, we are not working alone. We are working with provinces, but we are also working with districts and local municipalities. As you will know, Chair, there are many of our local municipalities that are also using loud hailing, with mayors going out there, with councillors going out there to massify the message that must go to our people. So I just forgotten the part of loud hailing that is being used in various parts of our country to put a message around COVID to our communities, particularly the rural communities. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister.
Chair, can I add a little bit?
Is that the DG?
Yeah.
Yes.
That acting DG. Acting DG, please. Yeah, you can add. It's fine.
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry for the glitch, but I think the minister has really tried to touch on, and also Ms. Diko. But I just wanted to emphasize the area of the rural communities. I think Minister is correct in saying that the collaboration that we have done during this period has helped us a great deal to reach even the rural communities through these core teams that we have set up, which comprises of GCIS, the provincial communicators, and the district communicators. But the one other thing that I thought I should emphasize, honorable members, all the media briefings that we do, we have been beaming them directly to the community radio station. But not only that, what we have also done, we have collaborated with PENSALP. All the inputs that the ministers give during these media briefings, we have translated them into all the 11 languages. And using the core teams, we've been able to distribute the content that has been provided by the ministers in the languages that the communities can understand. And what we've also done through the cooperation with the provincial leadership, we've been able to secure some of the talk shows at the community radio station where they further unpack what the story is all about in fighting the coronavirus so that it is understood in their communities. The loud hailers and also the drones. The drones. The drones. Chairperson, I think what we've tried to do is to use the local leadership as the voice of that community. I think it has worked extremely well in Limpopo. The loud hailers and the drones have used the language of that particular community, that village, but also using the mayor of that particular district. I think we want to continue exploring all avenues of making sure that we reach. The pamphlets that we have been distributing, we've also simplified them and put them in the language of that particular community in that area. The adverts that we thought we were going to fly to them for you to see, we've also done the adverts that are in all official languages, including the Khoisan language. We've also tried to reach that. So I thought maybe I should add that bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting DG. I'm sure members, you would have had responses on this round of questions. Before I hand over to my co-chair, Honorable Matibe, I will now start again with members from the NA as to those who still want to ask questions in this round of questions. Can I note those? Whilst they are raising members, can I also, for purposes of record, indicate that I now have a message that the Deputy Minister, Thembisweya, is also in the meeting. I think it's important for purposes of record. Can I now invite members from the NA who wants to speak?
Faku.
Honorable Faku.
Mackenzie.
Any other member?
Yeah, Mackenzie.
Hello, is that Mackenzie? Is that
yes,
Honorable Mackenzie?
Yes, thank you.
Josie.
All right, Honorable Mackenzie.
Thank you, sir.
So Van Dam wants to come back. Can I just check those who have not spoken yet, if there's anyone? If I give to Honorable Van Dam. Honorable Majosi. And then you have Honorable Van Dam. Okay, I've noted those. Can I start with Honorable Faku?
Thank you, Chair.
Yes,
Thank you,
you can
Chair.
proceed.
Okay, thank you, Chair. First, let us welcome the presentation. First, let me thank the Minister and the Deputy Minister for the sterling work that you have done for our country. I think one must appreciate that what we have done, it's not easy, especially under the conditions that we are in. You know, it's the first time that you can see coherence when it comes to communication from government. And I think, Minister, Deputy Minister, this is a lesson for all of us. I hope that we can continue like this. The way that you have been communicating decisions, it has been very good, very informative. And I see that you have used a lot of platforms to communicate these decisions. So to you and your team, Minister, well done. I think many South Africans are fully aware of what is happening in our country. Each and every sector, you've been there communicating decisions. Secondly, Minister, there's an issue. I think I want to just go back to say that, of course, but the President has said that part of this process is for us to learn. There will be baby steps. You know, sometimes when we communicate decision, especially ministers, I hope that as President communicates a decision, that decision will be followed. I would make an example, like there was something, this issue of social grants for unemployed youth. That issue was raised by the President that people will receive 350, but the department, in terms of communication and processes, it was not there. We understand that we're working under pressure. This is new for us, but it's an area that we need to improve on. So we want to appreciate mostly. I think also one of the things that I've seen that we're receiving even SMSs from, like I'm using MTN. One appreciates that every day you get those, so we can see that the private sector is also playing a big role in assisting that you do achieve what you seek to achieve. And also, as you are communicating these decisions, especially with the Department of Health,
how you work together. It gives one hope that indeed we will achieve and kill this pandemic. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Faku. Mackenzie, I'm on you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mackenzie.
Can hear you. Can hear you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I see, Minister, you and I belong to a very exclusive club, the Gunshot Survivors Club.
You are right. You are right.
Minister, let me echo the Honourable Faku's comments. I think GCI has done an excellent job in communicating around the COVID issue. If I could just, on behalf of my my very patient wife and son, ask the President, please, if he says he's going to come on TV at 9 o'clock, come on TV at 9 o'clock. Don't keep us waiting till 11 or the next day. Just that reliability. Then in turn, just going through the presentation, it's very effective. I notice also, the temptation to use our party's political colors in advertising campaigns is almost irresistible because it adds to our brand value. But I noticed that in these campaigns, government has used our national colors and not ANC colors. So again, let me congratulate you on that spirit of patriotism, national patriotism.
We always use national colors.
Thank you, Minister. Then just in terms of changing campaigns, for example, I know Tourism South Africa was running quite a strong social media campaign on Visit South Africa as the coronavirus unfolded. And I would assume there are several government departments that were involved in similar types of campaigns. Do you have an idea how many campaigns we're talking about? I presume, like Visit South Africa, you would have to postpone that campaign. Have your suppliers generally with GCIS been quite receptive to the postponement and cancelling of campaigns? I'm just thinking in terms of loss of revenue to the department. So have they been very cooperative when it comes to cancelling these things? And do you think we've lost any revenue? Then you're also, just in terms of your website edition, instructing all websites just to carry that TWIVN, I guess you'd call it, or the website ribbon. That was another very effective thing that GCIS did, and I think that's worked well at very little cost to government, and I'd like to congratulate you on that too. I've been largely covered on community radio. I just, in fact, wanted to add that this would be a very appropriate time, especially our communities in rural areas, to use community radio effectively to reach them. And of course, at the same time, you would ensure the sustainability of these smaller radio stations that are battling financially. Then just a last thing, Minister, GCIS is the communications arm of government. And if you're going to put a slide before us as the committee, please can your guys just check the language. I mean, for example, if you look at slide 2, it starts off, it says mandated to coordinates. No, that's not English. And then in the next line, it says and to and. No, that's not English. So, we expect the presentation of quality from GCIS to have the grammar correct. Sorry, just had to get that one in. Thank you very much, Minister, and thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Machozi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes, Honorable.
We can hear you and we can see you too.
Okay. Let me first maybe start by appreciating the presentation that we got from the Minister, and also to say that thank you for the job well done that you have seen so far. But my concern would be one on the issue of communities, especially townships and rural areas, to at least when we change these regulations, can we at least have newsletters where people will be able to see what regulations are on the level 4, what is expected of them? Because at the same time, we're telling them to stay at home. While they're at home, they are receiving or interpreting information in their own way. So it is much better if maybe they would receive a newsletter that would actually speak to them, and they would be able to understand it clearly of what is it that should perhaps be taking place at that present moment. Because it's not like that people are not adhering to the lockdown regulations, but I think it's a matter of interpreting what has been said by ministers when they present these. So when you do have a newsletter, at least you have all the time to sit down and actually read what is it that is expected of you as a South African. And maybe number two, to maybe get a clarity, Minister, on the post office services, that there are people who rely on letters. What on level 4, it's quite not clear that postal services and courier services related to transport of medical products only, or when will it open? So I wanted to find out on those issues, that will it be opening for people to be able to receive letters from other people, whether locally or internationally. Thank you, Chair.
As we give to Honorable Van Dam, I'll still appeal that we ask in relation to the presentation with regard to GCIS. I know we'll still have an opportunity to engage the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies presentation next week. But I'm sure Minister would have noted that. Honorable Van Dam.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think it is a great opportunity for us as the communications committees in the NA and in the NCOP to take this opportunity to ask Minister Mthembu, as a minister in the presidency, questions that relate to communications, because we need to communicate these back to our constituencies. I'd just like to echo my colleague about supporting the media, and particularly print media. As we know, a number of magazines have had to shut down. Those are jobs, and we need to do as much as we can to make sure that we save jobs. So if we can appeal to government to make sure that there's sufficient advertising in print media, I think that's very important. We need to keep that sector alive, and we need to save jobs in the media environment. Just questions related to government in general. I note that the president's spokesperson is also here. In a crisis, it is important that there is transparency. It is a crisis, people are panicked, and they need to be able to get answers from government. We need clear communication from government. People need to be reassured that government is taking the right decisions. You need to take people on board, right? You can't just make rules top down and just expect people to accept them. There needs to be a social compact with people to say, we are doing this because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are doing that because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that hasn't happened of late. It happened in the beginning. There was clear communication. Now there isn't any of that. Now, a couple of matters that are not clear. Who all serves on the Command Council? If we could just have a list of those people, who those people are. If we could give the full list. And then there's issues related to the ban on tobacco, to the ban on e-commerce, and the ban of alcohol, which haven't been explained sufficiently. The Minister of COGTA said 2,000 people said, don't uplift the ban on tobacco, therefore thus we did it. That's simply not good enough. You need to explain in detail in a crisis. You need to, not actually in a crisis, in a democracy, but it's even more important right now that you take people on board, that you explain to them why you're doing what you're doing. And I note that the minutes related to the tobacco ban will not be made public. That is utterly bizarre. Why not? It needs to be explained to the people of South Africa that this is how we took the decision. So why can't the minutes the 3 minutes, these 3 sets of minutes be made public. The minutes related to the tobacco ban, alcohol ban, and e-commerce ban, because they don't make any rational sense to the people of South Africa, and they need to be explained in detail, and those minutes need to be made available. So questions, Command Council, sorry, let me just double check, and the rationale between those 3 bans and why those minutes cannot be made public. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you, Honorable Van Dam. I will now hand over to Honorable Matibe to take questions from the NCOP before the department response. Over to you, Honorable Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have got an indication from our WhatsApp line for the NCOP members who have indicated they want to ask is Honorable Nana, Honorable Ngwenya, Honorable Arnolds, Honorable Klute. I just want to check if there is still any other member from the NCOP who wants to ask a question.
Yes, Chair.
Mokause,
Honorable Mudise.
Mokause.
Mudise.
Honorable Mudise and then Honorable Mukause, yeah, in that order. Honorable Nana.
Thanks, Chairperson. The first one, Chair, is to GCIS and of course the Minister. I would want to check if GCIS has taken note of the adverse impact the pandemic will have on service delivery, especially projects that were due to be implemented this financial year, but of course couldn't obtain because of the pandemic. How will GCIS and government ensure that post-COVID-19 service delivery is sped up? That would be the first question, Chair. And the second one, which is rather a bit controversial, Chairperson, I have noted that other presidents of other countries are directly communicating with their people on a daily basis. Others, they skip one day. If it's not the president, it's the prime minister. In our case, Chair, today is the 15th day since we've heard from number one, and I'm not taking the work of the National Command Council any lightly, but my point is, Chair, it's been 15 years since it's been 15 days since we've heard from the president. Now, Minister Mthembu, what is your message to people like myself who would want to hear and see the president quite often on communicating with the nation during this difficult period? And the last issue, Chair, is directed to GCIS. I have noted Sis Pumla's comment to say that they are working with provincial leadership and local leadership in provinces in ensuring that GCI messaging gets transmitted and gets through to our communities. But Chair, as you will know, and I like to emphasize this, in the NCOP, we were from provinces and we tend to be provincial biased. And I just can't help myself. I'm from the Eastern Cape. We have a problem in the Eastern Cape where the provincial government hardly communicates. And I would want to check with GCIS and the minister. What is your relationship with provincial governments in so far as provincial governments' communication? And do you guys have a plan to beef up communication of provincial governments? Because as I say, in the Eastern Cape, it's virtually non-existent. We're lucky if we get the premier in 2 weeks. Thanks, Chairperson.
Honorable Ngwenya. Honorable Ngwenya.
Thank you, Chairperson. And also thank you to the Chairperson of the NA. And greetings to all members of the Parliament and to our Minister, Jackson Mthembu, with the good work that we have done. Chairperson, I've got a few questions. My first question, Chair, is based on GCIS presentation. Also silence partnership with public representation are all in their representative constituency during this lockdown. What is the plan in place from GCIS to partner or empower public reps with information to empower their representative constituency, which actual COVID-19 information like leaflet and pamphlets. Chair, my second question is on the presentation regarding the amalgamation of the department. On slide 24 of the presentation forwarded to us, you are reporting that there are 30 vacancies posted. The question is, when is the department intending to fill all these vacancies? Linking to vacancies, slide 22 indicate that 8 employees could not be merged. What will happen to them when the DT process does not favor them? Will they be reskilled in careers that do not like, or will they be given option to move? Chairperson, I wanted to ask again that is it communication strategy in line with the communication policy of government? The presentation is silence on the policy. Does the COVID-19 communication strategy cater for all officials' language as per Section 6 of the Constitution of the Republic and use of the Official Language Act? The people with disability who use Braille, sign language, and OD formats, are they cater or in the communication strategy? If no, why? Chair, what is the budget allocated for the government communication strategy on COVID-19? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Arnolds.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning also to the Minister, the Deputy Minister, and then also all the members of Parliament, and then also the officials. Minister, yes, thank you. I think we are all together in the fight, fighting the pandemic, COVID-19. But in winning the fight, we need to pull together. And in terms of communication, we need to communicate effectively in terms of our mandate. But let me just raise one of the issues, and I think one member also raised the issue now. You can recall, especially the Western Cape government here, in terms of intergovernment relations, communication system, and everything like that. You can recall that the Western Cape government previously made announcements on their own in terms of cigarettes, the sale of cigarettes. My question to you is now, in terms of interventions, did you meet with the Western Cape government in terms of their pronouncement? And it's only national that time that could pronounce regulations and everything like that. I think that is now sending out messages that is very contradictory and not in line with what the messaging should be previously by the Western Cape government. Did you meet with the government? Did you engage with them? And what was the outcome of that engagement, if there was an engagement? Then the other matter that I want to raise now is, especially during this crisis time, in terms of the capacity of GCIS. And I think that is a very important one because it can't be a business as usual. You have mentioned now that there's a process now in terms of the appointment of the Director General. But can you please give us an indication when that will happen? Because if we don't have people with the right skills in the right places, then I don't think we will ever be able to do our communication effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, and all the other participants in this this session today. I heard the word pamphlets earlier, and I asked this question in the Free State Provincial Legislature when the Honourable Minister was in the Free State, because he stated that a lot of thousands of pamphlets were being printed to be distributed. On that issue, I would just like to refer to an article in Forbes magazine, which stated the following. We know that the spread of the coronavirus occurs when an infected person emits small droplets from their nose. We all know that. Now, there's also a study that shows that the virus could potentially live on surfaces for up to a few days, potentially up to a week on plastic. Now, this is according to a report. My question regarding the whole issue of pamphlets is, are we not busy with a Trojan horse here? Because it only takes one person to cough on 500 or 1,000 pamphlets that are being distributed. Did the department or the cabinet actually think about this? And what measures are they putting in place to ensure that the pamphlets are being distributed are not infected? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Modise. Honorable Modise.
Chairperson, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can continue.
I'm saying, good day, Chairperson. I am covered. My question was only on the people who are living with disability. Now, Mangwenya have asked the question. I am covered here. Those who are using a braille, and the blind and the deaf. Mangwenya covered me.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mukause.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, you'd agree with me. Over the years, we have seen a drastic decrease in terms of your print media distribution, especially in rural communities with their own languages. Are you actually planning to phase Vuk'uzenzele newsletter out? Do you have any challenges relating to the reproduction of your newsletter? Because previously we had a lot of them in GCIS offices, but currently you can't find any, especially in rural provinces. And then also relating to that, Minister, have government actually conducted any impact assessment throughout across the board with regards to the impact that these newsletters are making in communities? Lastly, Chairperson, it looks like the ruling party has taken advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic in South Africa, we are seeing a lot of contesting and, competition relating to food parcels throughout provinces, particularly in the Northern Cape. The president has actually said in his speech that politicians must not be seen distributing food parcels. But it looks like that message has been disregarded. We're currently having incidents, a lot of incidents throughout the country, and in particular, the Northern Cape province. Is this message that you are communicating to your own people, because these are the people that constitute the teams that are in provinces. They actually closes everybody out and they populate the teams themselves so that this shenanigans keeps on continuing. We cannot, as opposition parties, be policing such things, whilst your own president said no politician should be seen doing 1, 2. Is this in a way disregarding what you are communicating or what the country's president instructs all of us to do? We made that call as the EFF, that we don't want this to be taken to the level where people are making it their own campaign ahead of local government. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I think those are the questions from the members of the Select Committee. I don't know, Co-Chair, we can hand over to the Minister and the team to respond. Thank you very much.
Yes, Minister.
Able to take some, I don't know whether the minister is on. Some of Chairperson, please, can you guide me? Should I come in?
Can the minister respond, please?
Chair, this is James Weyer. I can also assist in case the DG will answer others, and then if maybe there are others which she might not respond to, I'm also available while we look for the minister, ideally, to give a report.
Thank you very much. I think the DG can start to answer. If there are other questions that will require DM as well as the minister to respond, you will. Acting DG, can you start?
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to respond to some of the questions, and then I'll leave some for the Minister and the DM. I think the first one that was asked about the adverse impact to service delivery, I would imagine, Chairperson, that the situation will differ from department to department. And in our case, indeed, we had an annual performance plan, and we have been able to say to the honorable members that we have had to adjust some of our focus area, because our annual performance plan, one of the areas that we were going to focus on this year was around the 7 priorities, but importantly on the issue of anti-corruption and also the GBV. Yes, it has taken a backseat, but I think it is our intention that we will be facing some of the critical areas that we want to interact with community as we continue with the year. So yes, there will be some delays, but they will differ from department to department. Then the other issue that was asked around the distribution of pamphlets, we'd like to also confirm to honorable members what we have done is that we didn't just distribute and hope that it will reach the people. We went physically to houses and we used what we call knock and drop, and we were just delivering in houses and then putting them in the post boxes. So that we can guarantee that it did reach some of the audiences that we were targeting in those vicinities. There was another question that was asked about Vuk'uzenzele. Honorable members, this is one of our flagship programs in talking to communities. it comes out in both English and the other language that is predominant in that particular area. We have done a research. We know for a fact that it remains the most popular publication that we send out to people, and it is free, because we have seen the research after research that we have done is that communities look forward to it. That is why we have even increased it. Initially, honorable members will remember, it used to come out once in 2 months, and the research told us that it remains popular. We then made it to come out once a month. Currently, it's coming out twice a month, and it remains a very popular publication, and the content thereof to date is around the COVID-19, which we send out to communities, and there is no plan of removing it as a medium that we send out to people. What we had scaled down on, and I think in terms of the languages that we use, it does come out in all the languages except for the Braille. But in the early stages, we used to produce it in also Braille. But I think with the budget cuts and also the fact that it did with the quantities that we were producing were in line with what the blind community was advising us. In terms of the budget, I think we do not want to mislead the honorable members to say that we have enough budget. As we speak, the products that we are sharing with yourselves and what we have done to date remains unfunded. We have made a request to the National Treasury that this war can only be won by us investing in informing society what to expect, the behavioral change. One of the issues that we have been told time and time again, that South Africa will never be the same again. And therefore, we do need a consistent information sharing with South African to ensure the behavior change. And that still awaits National Treasury to fund it, because I don't think we can win with the manner in which we have been operating, because as it is now, we do not have that budget. The distribution of Vuk'uzenzele, before I also miss, the reason also we are able to track it, we have a company that also ensures a knock and drop. It gets audited. We monitor whether they do what we are paying them to do in distributing it. And we have a distribution plan. So we know that it is distributed and it is received by the relevant people. I think I've covered the ones that I am able to cover. I think the Deputy Minister can assist if ever I've missed some of the questions, or the Minister if he's back.
Chairperson, can I speak?
Yeah, Deputy Minister, yeah, you can speak.
Okay. Thank you. Let me start by saying, taking in light from what the Minister has said. One is that we find ourselves in a pandemic which we had not necessarily prepared ourselves for. And when we were planning our long and short-term programs, in terms of Chair. Can the Deputy Minister please put her camera on? It's just difficult to listen. We don't want to see her face. Oh, okay. Oh, can you see me? I'm using my. It's not my laptop. I'm born a baby.
We can see you, dear. Can you continue, please?
Okay. Thank you. I was saying we find ourselves in this instance where we are faced with a pandemic which we had not necessarily prepared for. One, let us acknowledge that there is work that we have managed to do in a short space of time from the day when the lockdown was informed. I am bringing it to you, Chair, so that we understand that this portfolio committee and how we bring reports and how we're reporting is not the usual normal way of saying in your APP you had said you'll do one and you have not done it. And I'm requesting that you take the responses in that light. The other very important thing is that
what we keep pushing for, one is that in the dissemination of what the DG has spoken about materials and information, we make sure that we utilize the MDDA, which is in control of community media. One, we have given them a relief fund for the duration of the 3 months or so. So we have also created platforms in different languages to talk to our people about stay at home and do so. That part we have done. So there are platforms in community media space where you will hear the adverts. You have also seen adverts on TV, which comes from government. They are coordinated by GCIS. Together, we also work closely with Brand SA, because they then deal with the international front of facing the country. What we will request as we give you the reports, Chair, because it's not a normal situation, is that if you see situations where you think we can improve based on what we are doing, I'm requesting that you also bring them on board and to lighten up them to us. For example, there's a concern about food parcels, which was raised by one member here to say, what is it that we are doing? And for ourselves, even if we're coming with GCIS, we're in charge of planning, monitoring, and evaluation. The question is, what instruments are we ensuring to ensure that food which is intended for our people in food banks goes to our very own people, and we don't miss the mark. We have also, you have seen the president, for example, went on a walkabout with CSIR, which is also assisting us in terms of collating data. It is also assisting us in telling us where the spreads, where they're going, and so on. But what we're also in a process of discussion now is that as we continue with, should I say, downgrading or whatever word, from stage 4 to stage 5 to stage 3, at this stage, we will not be able to tell you what will be the communication message when hopefully we pass stage 4 to stage 3. But there's work which ideally we're able to do, and we do it in all languages. I can confirm we're using it. Community media platforms who've actually dedicated a lot of resources to it. We have also printed materials. What we have also done, like the DG has said, instead of a 1-month publication, we now do it twice a month to ensure that the message is reached. But I'm bringing to you colleagues, and I'm saying this is not a normal situation where we had planned that in the first term, this is what we're going to do, second term, and so on, to meet our own targets of APPs, which are in the MTSF. Because, to be honest, the MTSF, which we had planned for, does not necessarily cover what we're faced with. But we have got regulations which are directed by the National Command Team, which we need to adhere to and follow to ensure that we kept the pandemic. But what we also agreed was that in the very same process, we, GCIS ourselves, were going to go on a platform to communicate.
No longer hear you.
You can no longer hear me? You can hear me?
We can hear you now. Yeah, you
Okay.
can continue.
What we're also going to do, what we have agreed on, is that we are going to extend the platform to say, okay, we are in stage 4. It does not mean you must not be safe. You must still put your mask when you go out on the street and so on. So our communication message, as much as it says stay at home, sanitize, keep a distance, other shops are opened, people get food from deliveries. What message do we say? This is the debate where we are. And hopefully with time, we'll come back to the portfolio committee and say, we started by saying stay at home. Now we are saying, when you walk out, wear a mask, safe distance, this and that. But of course, for us to can come to that, we still need to go and engage social development and health and other entities who must be able to give our people these very same masks because they do not have them. So in the process of us engaging about that, there's also the other process. I hope I've answered. The other ones, ideally, I think maybe Minister is back. He will then give a holistic approach and so on. But also what is more important for us, which we like, is this one of the physical monitoring, which GCIS does, of actually also going. So it's compensating on what is already existing. Post Office also is doing something along those lines, and they have communicated with us to say, this is what we also want to do to assist in curbing the curve, and how do we reduce. And so there's some form of collaboration between the two departments, even with social development, to ensure that we assist in reducing the curve. Thank you, Chair.
Back, Chair.
Yes, Minister, can I come in?
Okay. My apologies. I don't know what happened to the system.
Minister, are you on the line?
Yes, can you hear me? Volume.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Can hear you, Minister. You can continue.
Oh, okay, okay. I wouldn't know what my colleagues have covered, but I will just start with Mafako. Thank you very much for the compliments. We are working with all role players, including colleagues. You will know that the president also did consultations with all political parties on indicating what are the responses that we are going to engage in as a country. And I know that I was also part of those meetings where the president indicated that if things do not improve, we might have to take drastic steps like lockdowns. And I can assure colleagues that political parties, particularly represented in Parliament, and also various stakeholders, including our churches, also agreed that government must do everything that it can to save lives. So colleagues must understand that all the response that government has taken to deal with this issue of COVID-19 is meant to save lives, and also to deal with the impact of the lockdown, particularly on people that are vulnerable. That's why the increase on various social grants and also the 350 that has been crafted as a new social grant for those who are unemployed. At the moment, we will be speaking to as the National Coronavirus Command Council this coming Sunday. We will be speaking to the social development team who will tell us how are they going to, first of all, craft a criteria for those who can access the 350 grant for the unemployed, but also how are they distributing the other matters that should be distributed to those that need them, particularly food. I agree with colleagues that indeed we can do better. I fully agree. That's why the coronavirus command team has asked that all those that are tasked with the distribution of food and also with the distribution of the new grant for the unemployed, and of course with the distribution of the additional amounts that has been put on the current grants, must come to the Coronavirus Command Council and explain to us how are they doing these things. Certain pictures we have seen are not encouraging, colleagues. Now, I agree with Mackenzie that we will do everything we can, Mackenzie, that when the president says that he will be speaking to us at 8, that he speaks to us at 8. At times, you know, these people who assist the president, because before the president speaks, he must have everything ready. In most instances, why the president is late is because of us who are giving the support to the president. And again, I take the full blame because I must get everybody to have given all the support that they need to give, but at times that support that they need to give, including matters that need to come to the statement, including figures, they come a little bit late. That makes the president then to come late to address the nation, at times 10 minutes or 15 minutes late. But again, our apologies. We'd like to apologize to South Africans on behalf of the president and the presidency, and assure South Africans that it will not happen again. Colleagues have asked, have we lost revenue as a consequence of tourists not coming? It's not only us, definitely we have lost revenue. When you don't have tourists coming in, when people can't fly, when people can't drive from the neighboring countries to your country for the purpose of visiting our tourist attractions, definitely we do lose revenue, but I will not have the actual figures at this point in time. All I know is that we have lost revenue because people are not coming to our country to visit. Yes, we have zero-rated many websites where information, where people can get information about coronavirus, including the government website, including the coronavirus website. We will do proper editing next time, Mackenzie, so that when we bring any document before you, we would have edited. Honorable Majosi, you are saying that perhaps we must also come up with newsletters. We do have a newsletter. I hope that the acting DG Pumla Williams has spoken to the Vuk'uzenzele newsletter. Maybe what we might need to do is to increase the numbers that we produce through this Vuk'uzenzele newsletter, particularly during this time. Increase the numbers, but of course, for us to increase the numbers, we will need to get the money. So we'll have to speak first to the Treasury, get the money so that we can have more of our Vuk'uzenzele newsletters going to all our areas, including our rural areas and townships. But I beg to disagree with Mama Josie. Mama Josie, those people who do not adhere to the lockdown, it is quite clear the Human Science Research Council says that through government communication, we have had a rate of more than 90%. But even those people that have been reached through community radio, through SABC radio, through television, through pamphlets, they are the ones that are not staying at home. They are the ones that are not listening to the message. We therefore have said to Stats SA, to the Statistician General, can you get us to the reasons why people will not stay at home when in fact they are requested to stay at home? We need to just get to the, it's a behavioral matter. That's what our colleagues in health are saying, that, we need a change in behavior. We cannot win this war through forced behavioral action. So there will be times when we must find requisite means of changing behavior of people. And in this instance, we'll have to work together with Parliament, with yourselves. We'll have to work together with our traditional leadership. We'll have to work together with our churches. We'll have to work together with community leaders in NGOs, NPOs, and CBOs, so that all of us are in the war against this COVID. Of course, when I say we'll have to work with you in Parliament, we mean parties that are represented in Parliament and parties, political parties that are outside of Parliament, in order for us to win this war against COVID-19. Of course, Post office is at level 4 now. You asked, Chair, whether I will answer the question. Yes, let me answer it now. At the time when we had level 5, the post office could only be open for essential services, including medicine and any things that needed to go to our hospitals and clinics. At this point in time, at level 4, the post office and the post bank is open. You can go there now. What is it? It's Friday. You can go to any post office now. We can receive whatever that is being sent. And also, you can go to a post bank to deposit whatever monies that you want to deposit. Honorable Member Van Damme, again, let's appreciate the support. We will continue through advertising, to assist print media. Print media is going down. We will continue to do what you said we must do, of course, within the financial strength that we can command. Particularly print media in the community media space. We will continue to do so. Now, you say you are not clear who are the people who serves in the National Coronavirus Command Team. We have about 20 ministers there, but even the whole of cabinet, when a matter affects a particular department, I can say that just translate cabinet to be the National Coronavirus Command Council, because also the leader is the same leader, is President Ramaphosa, and of course the Deputy President also sits there. Whilst the actual people who were appointed, because this is an appointed structure by the president, while the actual number is 20, you will know that in cabinet we are 28. Even members who are not necessarily members of the Coronavirus Command Council, who are serving in cabinet, when they come to the Coronavirus Command Council, nobody says that you cannot attend. So I can safely say that cabinet has then transformed itself into the Coronavirus Command Council led by the president. You are questioning the ban on tobacco, or on alcohol, etc. You know, the reality is that this is a disease that attacks our respiratory organs. Now, if you are to allow certain products that are also not good for these respiratory organs to be available for sale, you will not be doing justice to the campaign against coronavirus. But again, we know that there are certain parties that have made this political. We are not political here. But again, we are not being moralist. We are saying because of health reasons, it is not opportune at this stage. Again, we're saying South Africa, by the way, does sell cigarettes under normal circumstances. We're not in normal circumstances now. We are under an emergency and a health emergency. A health emergency that says we should not come into contact with one another. I can assure you, Honorable Van Damme, I used to drink. And you can't drink alone. Even when you drink alone in your house, the drinking will say, please go out and get somebody else to drink with. Those that drink. It's common. Now, if you allow drinking in public places, if you allow drinking in restaurants, what are you saying about contact between people? That will lead to infections. I don't think that will be acting like a responsible government if we were to allow liquor outlets to be open and allow people to go and drink wherever. By the way, nothing says that if you have got your own starch of liquor in your house, nobody says that you can't drink in your house. The difficulty is when you have taken those particular ingredients, then you get to the street. That's when you then come across somebody called Begitele. Then he will say, what are you doing? Because all of us are expected to stay at home. But now, when you have taken some few shots, even these messages disappear in your head. You go out to friends, which is not helpful. Nana, yes, there are many projects, not only in GCIS, but in government, that will be delayed because all of us are now focusing on coronavirus. All of us are in this fight, a fight to save lives. When we are done, that speaks to another area of work that I'm charged with, the MTSF. When we are done with fighting this emergency, we'll then have to come back and say, we have 7 priorities. We have crafted these MTSF indicators and outputs. Are they still relevant? That's what we'll have to do, and we'll have to come back to you, colleagues in Parliament, and say we have spent the whole of the first quarter of 2020, 2021, probably the second quarter and the third quarter fighting COVID. We have not done anything that we had planned to do as government because an emergency just cropped up. Now, here is a new MTSF plan that we are putting before you. We are likely to do that, led by the president. We are likely to put a new MTSF plan, a plan that will guide the work of government after COVID-19. And I can assure you, it will be a different environment. How do we deal with that environment? And what priorities will arise after the COVID war? Somebody said that, again, it's Nana who says that the president has not spoken to us for 15 days. The president speaks to us when it is necessary. The president has spoken to us when he spoke to us about colleagues that were coming from Wuhan. The president spoke to us when he introduced the disaster, the state of disaster in the country. The president spoke to us when he introduced the first lockdown. The president spoke to us when he introduced the 4th level of the lockdown. And I can assure you that the president will speak to us when it is absolutely necessary. The president, after the president has spoken, this is a routine that we follow. After the president has spoken, ministers come in with regulations to implement the directive that comes from the president. And we all know that Minister Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, together with the team that she's working with, has put in place regulations that are guiding us now at level 4 of the lockdown. And she has spoken to those matters. When we are supposed to go to level 3, I can assure you that when circumstances are right for us to go to level 3, I can assure you, Honorable Nana, that the president will speak. And the president will also appraise South Africans. How have we done at level 4? And why are we going to level 3? So don't worry, the president will speak to you at an appropriate time. Though there are other countries, by the way, where their presidents are on television and radio almost every day. We are not those countries. We are a country where the president speaks, give broad guidelines, and ministers come in with regulations, and other ministers then come in flowing from those regulations with directions as it pertains to their various area of work. You will know that I've also come in with directions as it pertains to our area of work. Problems in the Eastern Cape, to the best of my knowledge, we are doing very well with the Eastern Cape. To the best of our knowledge, I've seen the Premier even loud hailing in the Eastern Cape. We are in touch with all provinces, including the province of the Eastern Cape, in this war against COVID. But of course, if colleagues think that we can do better, and this is what I always say, we can always benefit from your wisdom, colleagues. If you think we can improve in this area, we can improve in this area. We are always receptive to your advice. Honorable Ngwenya, empowerment of GCIS, or by GCIS, of constituencies, and I think probably Ms. Williams would have spoken to this issue. The pamphlets that we produce and the pamphlets, Vuk'uzenzele, including our newsletter, including the pamphlets that are produced by the Department of Health on COVID, these pamphlets go to all constituency offices. We might have had a difficulty where the post office was not working optimally. Probably that's why these pamphlets might not have reached all areas that they could have reached under level 5. But under level 4, we want to assure colleagues that these pamphlets will reach every place. Ms. Ngwenya, we will answer your question when on 30 vacancies and the other issues that relate to vacancies, because I don't think that they speak to GCIS, but they speak to the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. We will speak to those when we come to it. I hope that Ma'am Phumla Williams did speak to the budget. Arnold, you say that the Western Cape, yes, made a pronouncement around the issue of cigarettes and tobacco. Yes, we did communicate with the Western Cape. They also agreed that they should not have done what they did, because we are all led. We are one country. We don't have one country with many countries inside it. We are only one country. So the Western Cape appreciated that we are one country, and that if we come with any directive or regulations, those regulations apply in all provinces. So yes, we did speak to the Premier of the Western Cape through our president, and that omission was corrected. We are all now not selling cigarettes. No part of our country is selling cigarettes, including the Western Cape. Appointment of GCIS is just waiting for cabinet, because all appointments of DGs, yes, we can do all the interviews. Like I've said, we have done the interviews. We have concluded the interviews. We have recommendations that are now sitting to be finalized by the cabinet. Clote, safeguarding of pamphlets, quite an important point. Again, this is telling us that as we send pamphlets to the various parts of our country, what are the measures that we put in place to safeguard our people against being infected by the pamphlets that we send? Again, to be honest with you, it's an area that I will go and investigate and see whether the measures we have put in place as we roll out pamphlets, as we craft pamphlets, and as we send them away, that all those measures are in keeping with the safeguards against the COVID-19. Mokause, yes, Vuk'uzenzele, we will increase the volumes. You know, there are certain people, not only in the governing party, but just some individuals who, at a time when we need to work together and be there for those that are most vulnerable, other people think that it's an opportunity for them to make some richness and to collect some food for their friends and to collect some food for their families or for whoever or for themselves. Food meant for those who are most vulnerable. You know that as a party, all those that have been involved in this are being disciplined as we speak now, immaterial which province they are in, whether they are councillors or just ordinary members. But I want to thank the province of Gauteng that has made a clear determination and decision that no councillors will be involved in the distribution of food. And I think it's a good approach by that province, and I think many provinces can learn from that province so that food is distributed by those that should distribute to people that are hungry. I know that the Department of Social Development, working together with our provincial departments and working together with NGOs and CBOs, has done wonderful work in this area. So perhaps we should allow those that are able to do this work to do this work without interfering as politicians at whatever level, whether at national, provincial, or local level. Chair, I think I've tried to respond as much as I can to many of the questions. Safe to say, colleagues, we have 161 South Africans who have passed on as a consequence of this disease. We have over 8,000 South Africans who are infected as of yesterday. All that I'm requesting from our colleagues, can we hold our hands and work together? Because we are told that we have not even reached a peak in the infections. We are told by the Department of Health and also those that are experts on these matters of COVID and other related pandemics, that we are likely to reach a peak by September. Therefore, we will be together. We will be reporting to you on a regular basis on what is it that we're communicating. How are we communicating? Where we go wrong, please advise us. But at the same time, we would like you to join hands with us as government as we fight this pandemic, particularly as you are our colleagues in Parliament. Use your constituency offices, even use your own political parties in assisting South Africa to fight this war. You know, there are other countries that have had thousands and thousands of people who have died. America is one of those, Italy is one of those, Spain is one of those. We would not like to reach those thousands and thousands of numbers. Can we work together? That's all that we're requesting. But on communication as well, apart from us communicating what the whole of government is doing in response to COVID, and also our president leading in this communication, on health containment and health measures that are being taken. We have had our Minister of Health, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, speaking almost every day, telling us how many people are infected, how many people have been screened, how many people have been tested, but of course, how many people have lost their lives in this war. So join us. We will be there to work with you. We will come to you any minute you want us to account to you. How are we dealing with these matters of COVID-19 and communications around COVID-19? Yes, we can benefit from your wisdom. Where you think we are running short, we will step up. And where you think we have done good, we will say thank you, as we are saying now. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Matibe, can you hear?
Members who were looking for follow-ups, looking at the time, we can request their indulgence that we can put it next week when we meet the department. I'm handing over back to you, Chairperson.
No, thank you, Co-Chair. I think you are correct, but maybe let's put the right that members who would have wanted to ask further questions, they can still send those, including suggestions, to the department in terms of what needs to be done to improve numbers for the cooperation that we have received as the core chairs, as well as the responses from the department. And I think they are assuring South Africans that they are doing everything possible to ensure that they don't leave the nation behind, but they move with the nation as we are fighting this pandemic. Your closing remarks, Chair. Honorable Matiba.
Also fine, and we want to thank the members for the cooperation that we received as co-chairs, and we hope further engagements of the joint meeting will move in this direction. We also want to thank the department for the response that members received as they asked questions. Thank you very much, Co-Chair.
All right, thank you. The meeting stays adjourned. I think we have concluded the business for the day. Thanks once again, Honorable members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, really. Minister, the post office is open. The CEO says the post office is closed. I mean, I can't. I heard that the post office is open for business.
Which one?
Honorable Mackenzie, you can take that matter with the minister even outside of the meeting. As we said, you can still communicate.
All the minister.
Okay, I will tell all the people that phone me that the minister says the post office is open and they can go there.
Which post office?
Ajira? Leave the meeting.
Now we are done.
Chair, you want to speak to me?
I was saying that the meeting stays adjourned. You can get members out of the
Sure. Thank you.
Connection. Thank you.